You're watching the Metaphysical Mentor Podcast with Michael Philpott. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. This is the Metaphysical Mentor Podcast, and we're going to have an amazing show today. We're going to be talking about the language of the gods. That's what I call it, light language. And then maybe talk about a few other things. So, Lara, how are you, my friend?
I'm great. Hi, Michael.
Yeah, you know what? I have to thank Kathleen Sherman to connecting us, and she was on the show too as well. And I realized we have a lot of the same inner circle or outer circle, anyways. We've had I know you've been on another podcast. It was an acquaintance of mine, and I've known you've been on another podcast with David and Bonnie Bird and everybody. So yeah, you're all
Small
over.
world, Michael.
It is a small world.
It is getting smaller, right?
It is getting smaller by the minute. And
Yeah.
I'm really happy that you're on the show today. And it's a topic that I really wanted to cover in detail. I've had other people, we talked about light language, but we never really got into the depths of it. But
Right.
So that being said, I call it the language of the gods. How would you describe light language?
I love that. I've never heard it called that. So when I first started speaking it, I didn't know what it was. I called it angel speak because I was seeing angels at the time. But I really call it the language of our soul. I feel like it's the original language when we were all one. And now that we're coming back to, I know it doesn't feel like it right now, we're all so polarized, but we really are coming back to a oneness. And that's why I think so many people are being activated to it. So I call it the language of our soul.
Yeah, I like that. You know, when you said that, it's like I got this little chill down my spine. It was like, that is just so awesome. Do you remember when the first time you got that download?
Yeah. So I actually came in doing it. I remember as a child speaking it and writing it. When I could write, it looked like Egyptian hieroglyphics. And then also I remember being 1 and 2 hand signing it. Now, of course, I didn't have any clue what it was. I shut it down when I was around 8, when I was going through a really tough time, and it did not come back until my early 40s. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, life goes on, and get married, raise kids, and just get busy. And I was going through a really hard time. And my life was blowing up like many of ours do as we're in transitions. And I was very sick, organs were shutting down, and I just started meditating. My body hurt really, really bad. Hair was falling out. Like I said, organs were shutting down. I was going through a divorce after 25 years.
Oh,
and
Jesus. Like you had the whole gamut of everything.
I had the whole gamut. Yeah, just hit me hard. But this is when it came back, when I needed it the most. And it was incredible. And that's when I had the memory of doing it as a child.
Wow. Do you remember like seeing angels as a child too? Like, were they visiting you? And
yes. Yeah.
Were they already? How do you distinguish between like angels? I know when you're younger, everything just seems magical and exciting, and it's not really too scary. I mean, I've heard other incidences where people will have people in their bedroom and they're young kids and they're waking up and who's this crazy person in my room? And I'm seeing this. But was the experience you more gentle and more like, warmth? Or was it kind of like, okay, what is this?
I had both. I had both coming at me. And yes, and it was very scary at times. And I was a very scared child. Both my parents were alcoholics. I knew, I think at 3, what a scotch on the rocks, what the twist was, and had a lot of responsibility on me for the other kids. And so at night I would just cry all night long. And so now I know why all these beings came, but I also had an imaginary friend, and I didn't realize till years later, he was really my guardian angel, and
wow.
The purpose of how he held me together during that time.
Yeah. Like it's amazing when the shit hits the fan.
Exactly.
Like literally when the shit hits the fan, we're at the lowest. And that's usually when like spirit usually shows up. And I always get a little upset sometimes with spirit, and I've got myself in trouble for that. It's just like, why didn't you like maybe show up a little earlier instead of till I'm at my lowest?
Where were you when I needed you?
Yeah, exactly. And how do we because so many people right now are kind of feeling that. How do we kind of get through that?
Yeah, they're feeling left out. They're feeling lonely. The loneliness on this planet for 7, 8 billion people. Why are we so lonely? Why are we so separated and polarized when there's so many of us and there's all this social media and yeah, and where's God? Where's God in this? All the people dying from COVID or who knows what else, and all the complications. I think our creator is right here with us. Like spirit is right here with us. And sometimes we're just so in our muck and our stuff, until we actually can take that time for ourselves and get it off, get some of that stuff off of us. Can we even see the hand that is guiding us and open our hearts to it? Because sometimes I'm just pissed, frankly, and I don't want to do anything.
Yeah, I've heard you. I hear you. You're preaching to the choir here.
I know, right? Like, why are we even doing this? Why are we here? This is silly.
Yeah, this is crazy. And I just had a lovely lady on the other day, and we did a show, and we talked about soul contracts because she does past life regression, and she says we all make these contracts, and when she says everything that you kind of planned, like you do this pre-planning stage. And we talked about responsibility and why these things are happening. And once you kind of know why they're happening, it kind of eases up, but it still doesn't make them any less easy.
No, and it's still, the pain is so deep. And especially for those of us old souls, and many of your listeners, I have no doubt, are these old souls who have done this shindig before in some way, shape, or form. And we're really like, what have we got ourselves into? And can we get out? Can we run? Or what do we need to do? Like, how can we and right now it's about coming together and really supporting each other and meeting our tribe. And so thank goodness I, just met Kathleen in March, just this year. And
wow, really?
I've been pretty much alone for this last decade, except for just a few people. But yeah, it's been very interesting. Mm-hmm.
I would never believe that.
I know, right?
It seems like you've been doing this for years. Like every time I click on a YouTube video or I'm watching.
Well, I've been doing this for a decade, but I just met her in March.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. Because I was just saying, it just seems like. Yeah.
Oh, no, I've been doing this for a long time.
For a long time. Yeah. And it definitely shows. I mean, and your spirit is so strong with it too, as well. So I always been curious, how did you transition? Because from what I understand, you came up with a very religious background, like you're very depth in the religious. And it was a Christian, right? Christian was yeah. So how did you, I guess I'm trying to articulate, how did you come to terms with what you know and what, you kind of get indoctrinated into the Christian mentality, and what you were taught and what you were supposed to believe. And then all of a sudden you got these angels and you got this light language. How did you kind of bring the two together? Or how did you make sure that, okay, yeah, I can't believe I'm doing this. And this is the devil work. Like, because you get that mentality, oh, that light language, that's the devil's tongue.
That's the devil. Yeah. And you take just the Bible, if there's not someone next to you translating it, then, that's of the devil or whatever. Yeah. So, I grew up in the Presbyterian church and then the Methodist until I was about 45. And, like I said, I got sick and this started opening up and no one could help me. Healings were happening. I went to a pastor at another church that I had started attending that was a little bit more open. He wasn't very friendly about it. It was more of a church run by men and it was not very helpful. So I was scared and I felt very alone. My biggest fear, so I had 2 teenage boys. I was PR director for our school system, very ingrained in our small suburban Midwest Indiana, life, if you can picture that. Yeah. My biggest fear was going to the grocery store and breaking out in light language and embarrassing my children.
I was actually going to ask you that. That was one of my questions I had. Did you ever have like a spontaneous reaction where you're sitting in the grocery line and then all of a sudden, blah, like,
yes and no. So yes, it would happen if somebody needed something, I could feel it coming up, but I had complete control over it, which it took me a while to receive that and accept it. Because at first I was pushing it away. I didn't know that I could control it. I didn't know what it was, and it was scaring me. And I didn't want to, embarrass my children, but yes. And especially when I was in my car and I would drive by somebody's house who maybe needed something, that is when it would just take off.
Okay. So that's actually, it's good because you're in your car. So nobody can
I didn't.
Just about somebody might think you're like a bad singer or something. If the window was rolled down, they'd be going, okay, this lady has no tune at all. I don't know what she's saying.
Clearly a bad singer.
Bad singer. Oh my God. Yeah. Cause I've heard so many stories where it's either like people who do light language, or even myself, I've had spontaneous readings where I'm with somebody and all of a sudden I can feel spirit coming over me and I'm sitting there going into my little trance state and I'm like, oh Lord, here we go. I know spirit is like, okay, you got to do this. And I'm like, okay, no, I don't want to do this right now. And spirit's going, yeah, you sure about this? And all of a sudden it's like, okay, can I give you a message? And then the next, I'm sitting there doing a reading for somebody.
Right. And when it comes over you like that, it really is lovely, but I know it's hard to push that away.
Yeah.
But I know I didn't answer your question about reconciling the church in this, because it is a big question and I get asked this a lot.
Yeah.
For me, I taught all the Bible studies. I ran a mom's group. I had 50 moms and 50 kids twice a month for years. And then to walk away from it because I was, people I think just thought I was going nuts. I did too. I really didn't know what was happening. I was going through such a transition with my husband, with the kids, and, with everything, work. So, writing and meditating in light language came through and no one is understanding. There's, very few people to talk to about this. I really came to just go straight to spirit. And that is where I was comforted, in that I could see the Bible as this pinprick of what was really out there, and to look at everything from a bigger perspective. And really, that's what I see my whole work is taking our everyday lives, looking at it with the spiritual, the bigger perspective, and then with light language or whatever, bringing it back down, heaven on earth, which we're all called to do right now, and ground it and use it in our everyday lives. And I really had to get confident and safe in it, and spirit leading and guiding me. And then from there, it was just all fun.
Yeah. That's so true. Like, you have to get that little bit of comfortness and feel a little safe to go out there, because a lot of people are not going to be accepting of it. I mean,
they're still not.
No, and they're still not. No, definitely
even family
not.
members.
Yeah. Fortunately, my family is not too bad. My mother, she has a little bit of psychic ability. So it was kind of in the family, but it was never exposed. Nice. I mean, I really just came out of the psychic closet like this past year, like through COVID. Right. Yeah. I finally, I've been doing readings for years, but I never really talked about it. I never openly did it, and never really said, oh, by the way, I'm a psychic medium and this is what I do. I talk to dead people, but I talk to spirit and all this other stuff. But then finally, it's, like, it was almost like, very much your circumstances. So I had a lot of stuff going on, a lot of loss, a lot of crisis. And it was like, okay, what are you going to do? Mm-hmm. What are you going to do? And, my friends of mine says, Mike, you got to get out there. And I don't know.
Want to.
Well, I kind of did.
Yeah,
I did, but I what I struggled with was my confidence.
Of course.
And I felt years ago, if I was going to connect with spirit, I felt so abandoned by spirit. Mm-hmm. And I felt abandoned by God. And that was like one of my root pains, was that I just felt so abandoned. And how am I supposed to communicate that loving message when I felt so abandoned from the original source of everything, and I've also had abandonment in my own personal life. So that was one of my big struggles that I face with all the time. And it's like, how do I reconcile that? How do I get
And what did you end up doing?
Well, I've done a lot of things. Part of it was I did a lot of therapy at first, just to kind of get me grounded. But this was like an ongoing process, but I just realized that I had to kind of shit or get off the pot.
Right.
I'm not getting any younger. Shit's still going to happen to me. I got to do something. And I had a pretty good, small community of people that were doing their light work. And once they kind of encouraged me, it's like, Mike, you've been doing readings for years. Why aren't you like doing it for a profession? And I was like, I don't know. And once I got past that scary part, then it was fine. Like, you know, it's like now people ask me, I'm still a little bit hesitant. I always gauge my crowd, like depending on who the crowd is, but a lot of the people,
we should do that. Absolutely. Anyway.
Yeah. Cause you know, some people are just going to go, yeah, all right. And others people are like, oh, really? Do you see my grandmother? You know?
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the great things. So one of the things I saw on your thing, you do quantum healing.
I do.
Mm-hmm. Is that the same quantum healing is the Dolores Cannon developed?
No, it's kind of my own.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Can maybe
I have had her sessions; they're amazing. But yes,
okay,
not. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I had another practitioner early on in my in season 1. So if you're listening there, I had a quantum healing practitioner. Actually, I had 2 actually, but one was different, and the other one did the Dolores Cannon one. And I've read many of her books. So when I saw that in your bio, I was like, oh my God, that's so amazing. Because I know you do light language, and I know you do coaching, but you also do a lot of healing work.
I do. And that's what's unique in how I use the light language, which a lot of people, I don't use it like I do. So,
yeah. So that begs the question, how do we know, is it just basically to use discernment when it comes to light language? Because there's a lot of people you see out there, and I kind of cringe. Yes. And like you see them, and you probably do too. You probably kind of go, yeah, okay, great. That's doing wonders for my credibility here when you see this person pretending to be light language. Now, again, I may be wrong, but for the part of me, it just doesn't resonate.
Right.
So how do we figure out what's resonating and what doesn't resonate?
You know what? I love that question. And even I was even thinking about lawyers. There are so many bad lawyers out there, and they make the really good lawyers look bad because they're out there being crooks or whatever. So in our field too, I feel like we have especially right now, people are so hungry. They're so hungry for true spiritual leadership and true help. And how do I bring it into my everyday life? I don't want to stay up here we do kind of want to stay up in La La Land. It feels amazing, but we need to bring it down. Like what do we do down here? And for discerning, even when I first started, I knew one person in Indiana who did light language. Then I started researching. After about 5 years, I knew 5 people in the world who did light language. Wow. And now there's thousands, of course. That is how fast people are being activated and lighting up. And I'm so excited to be able to help activate people and do that because it is about using discernment and your intuition with it. You probably remember this too, when you first start opening up psychically, every Tom, Dick, and Harry shows up, and they could have just, right. And they have probably just crossed, and maybe they had killed someone, they were in a whole different vibration. Yeah. But that is what we were, just opening up to and learning. And it took me a while to be able to discern, okay, I don't have to talk to you, or I want to talk to, this being or that being, and that is the same with the light language. And we have to have that strength in ourselves and confidence in ourselves to be able to go, in my opinion, straight to whatever, as high as you can go, and bring that in. And it also depends on who I'm working with, on what they need. Okay. So maybe they just need their angel light language. And so it's going to sound different than someone else who needs some galactic help. So.
Yeah. That was always curious. So like when you do your light language, is it basically just an automatic download? Like, let's say, for example, I'm one of your clients, right? And okay, we're in a session. Do you go into a meditation state, or is it just strict download? Okay. And it's just, there's no filter, and this is what Mike needs. This is like,
no filter,
no filter. And your soul now, is it your soul that's connecting to it? Like I was trying to figure out, because I know and understand the principle of channeling, but is it your soul mind that's connecting or opening up your consciousness to allow the download to come through? How does that work?
Oh, that's a really great question. Yes, I would say it's my higher self connecting to spirit, to God consciousness, to our creator. And then it is just a flow into me. Almost like when I start working with somebody, I always ask them, what are your intentions? Like, what would you like out of this, to make sure? Now, always other stuff comes up during it. And I go back and forth, but I kind of picture me, and I take me and my physical body and my ego and kind of set it over here so that the flow just happens without me in the way.
Yeah. Do you remember what you say?
No, I have no idea. And I have asked before. I've been told it's a combination of over 60 different languages. I only know English. I've had people tell me that I've spoke Italian, Spanish, Japanese. I've had people tell me I've said their therapist's name. So I've said names in my channeling that they connected to.
Oh, wow.
I have no idea. So.
Yeah. Cause when I first heard light language,
yeah,
I was like,
you roll your eyes at it.
Yeah, I did. Honestly, I did. Like, me being a guy too, as well. I was like going, really, dude? Like, really? Come on, like, whatever. But it wasn't like, just because at first, like, it's my monkey brain going, oh, this is just so dumb. Right. And then, but there was something resonating inside me that was like tingling. And I was like, and then I started smiling and I started giggling, and I was like going, oh my God, there's something going on. What is this? What is she saying? But it sounds so familiar. Like, even though to the ear, it doesn't really sound, it sounds like you're babbling, but there are so many like little things that does sound like this language. It does sound like that language. It does sound like this language. And you can kind of go, hey, wait a minute. It just really, it never ceases to amaze me how, like, when you do listen to it and somebody's authentic like you, how it resonates. Like, it literally tingles your body. Your body kind of goes, I know that.
It's our soul. Our soul lights up, and that's how we. I use it to clear our energy, or clear my energy all the time. I use it every day on me, and then whoever else wants a little bit checks in. So it's really amazing. But yeah, it lightens the spirit. It does so many different things. The DNA, it just resets our body back to our blueprint. I started using it in I would ask people, what is it? Well, first I would just say, spirit, whatever it is that I need or this person needs, download. And then I got to the point where they were asking for specific things, and I learned, well, I can ask for that. So this person wants to lose weight. Help me, download that into them, or whatever. Help me see what it is that's blocking them, and use the light language. And then that comes through. So if there are blocks, but it's the light language that has the codes in it that implant in our field, I feel like, that have the power to clear the blockages, to make us aware of more. And sometimes things get worse before they get better, as we know in this work, right?
Yeah, it certainly does, because there's so many layers to this. And I know even the work I do, and even my own personal work, it's like that proverbial onion. They just keep peeling back layers, and you're thinking, oh, I got rid of this shit. And then all of a sudden there's more. Where did this come from?
Again.
And it's like, oh my God, like, it's between generational stuff, my own stuff, my parents' stuff, and then just my own stuff, just through my own experiences and my choices. Choices. I have to keep saying that it's my choice. It's amazing how many things, kind of get stuck, and how much the energy is just, it's so impeded. Mm-hmm. And once you start clearing that up, it's amazing. It's almost like you kind of have that weight lifted off your shoulders, that you can actually feel mobile again. It kind of gives you that little bit of edge just to keep going forward, that little bit of perseverance. And that's what I find so amazing about your work. It just gives you could be having like the shittiest time in your life, and that, source, God, whoever, or the angels, however you want it to feel, that you can actually feel it now, because that's when it really matters the most, because you have to feel like there's something greater and bigger than ourselves that's out there that we can connect to, that's got our back. It doesn't matter what the shit's going on. Something has your back, and whether you want to call it God or source.
That's so true.
Yeah. I just find it so fascinating.
Thank you. And Michael, with this, with light language, if we try to figure it out in our head, we are not going to figure it out. I have so many clients who are like, I want to know what you said. And I said, well, I could waste your time and try to translate every word for you, but there's so many different dimensions to every single word in the codes that we'll still be here till tomorrow to get through 2 words. And that's our ego. I feel like our ego, who always wants to know and have all the answers. But if we can just drop into our hearts and just let it flow in, we'll know without a doubt that we're going to get whatever it is that we really need, and we can let the rest go. And it's okay.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Now, just a quick question. Do you know if anybody who's doing any research around light language?
No, but that would be, I would love to do that.
That would be
thinking about that for a couple of years.
I mean,
very cool.
Well, we'll put that out there. Maybe you get extra peeps, maybe connect you with somebody like that. Because maybe somebody listening to this right now has a PhD and want to do a study on that. That would be very cool. Because I had Joanne DiMaggio on, and we talked about past life regression therapy and doing a lot of research on that. And there's to be a lot of backing behind that now. So can you imagine doing that and how that would be? Like, say that, like, you ever heard of the Emoto study where Dr. Emoto looked at water? So imagine speaking light language to water and then filming that, or seeing that, or even to cells, and looking at how the cells change just by you speaking light language to the cell.
Yes.
That would be kind of a cool thing.
Yeah. Oh, I have chills. I can see that. About 5 years ago, I was, or maybe, 4 or 5 years ago, I had a friend reach out and say, can you pray for my niece? She's in the hospital. She's not doing well at all. We don't know what's wrong. And I did some prayers. I went to bed. They woke me up at 2 a.m. to do more prayers, more light language. And then I just went back to sleep. So the very next day, the lady who had asked me to pray for her calls and says she woke up at 2 a.m. hearing light language. And,
no way.
And yeah. And now I've never met this little girl, and she had never met me. She didn't know I was praying for her, but the aunt did, and didn't know when I did it, but just knew I had. And I said, what time did you say? And it was the exact same time I had woke up. So the veil was thin, and it was beautiful.
I love that. I love hearing those stories.
And she's doing great.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Cause I've always wanted to ask you about the power of prayer. As both of us are, grew up in the religious circles, right? I always talk about prayer and stuff like that. And I've always found, like, when I was younger and you prayed for things, you never got the things that you really prayed for.
Right.
And there's that belief where, that prayer does work, then there's prayer that doesn't work. So how do we balance? Because you had something so profound, you prayed for it. And I've heard so many other, people talk about the intention of a prayer and how profound it could be. So how do we kind of bridge that gap where, prayer does work?
Yeah. One time, when I first started the light language, they had me pray for someone who was dying or was very sick and ended up dying the next morning. And so I felt awful that, the prayers didn't work.
Yeah.
Prayer for me is when we're doing all the talking to God, Spirit. Meditation is when I feel like I finally shut up and listen, right? I finally get quiet enough. And I never learned that until 10 years ago. It was like, because that's when everything started coming in, when I finally shut up. All I'm doing is asking. Well, we need to be quiet, and we need to hear the other side of that, the other side of that coin. I think that I pray for things all the time, and I set the intentions, and I do all the, try to do all the fancy manifestation. Sometimes they don't work because it's not in alignment with our highest and best, and we're not God. So when I always feel like we can pray and we can ask and we can intend and we can light a candle and do all of that, and especially where 2 or more are gathered, but the how it happens and the when, it's not up to us.
Yeah.
And we can just let that go, because that's the hardest part. That's the, that's where I get really cranky.
Yeah, it does. Exactly. And it's a tough thing, that's a really, really tough thing that quote, it says, let go and let God. And it's so tough, especially in, really dire straits where somebody's life is involved and stuff like that. It can be very, very detrimental to your own spirit, because you want it so bad. You want to know that God is looking down, he listens to your prayers, and you're going to have that amen moment where the person is going to be fine. And then a lot of times, spirit has his own, like God source has his own idea or her idea, but what things, right? So, yeah, I mean, I've always struggled with that too, as well, as part of my own faith. And again, I grew up in like Roman Catholic. So, I mean,
wow. Okay.
Oh yeah, we had all the
you
guilt.
Had the guilt piled on you.
Oh yeah. Oh Lord, man.
Let's dump that on your head.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, it's always so fascinating that. So one of the things I want to talk to you about, because you do a lot of work with CEOs and leaders and stuff like that. How do you manage big egos?
Very carefully. Yeah, that is the challenge. So I do my energy work prior to the meeting on myself to prepare, and then also on them, and to get them out of their head. Start with getting them into their heart, and then showing them the ways, if they can stay in this heart space, how they can use their intuition and make choices and decisions from that spot. Then they're blown away. But yes, the ego, it gets in the way, and for all of us, and we need it though. It's, you don't want to totally throw it out. You got to have some, but we've got to manage it and still be able to drop into our heart space and grow from there. And if they can't seem to do that, then that's where, you don't get very far, or it takes a while. I'm just planting seeds, and then it
just basically planting the seeds and just add a little, keep watering the water and keeps going. So, now, do you send light language, and do you clear the space prior to, let's say if you're going to a corporation and you got a group of people there, do you kind of do a little clearing and light language prior to sending it to their offices?
Always. And when I'm working on someone individually, so as I'm looking at their energy field, I look at the room they're sitting in, I look at their house, their planes, their bike, their car, because if I clear them and I send them into a house that is full of wandering dead spirits and entities, they're not really going to get well, or they're going to get poked even more, or other things can happen. So I have to look at all of it. And I think often we're just looking at, kind of a massage. You come in and get a massage, and it's really so much bigger than that.
Yeah. That's the thing with subtle energy fields. Years ago, if you would have told me I would be doing this, I would have told you you were batshit crazy.
Right.
Yeah. But the thing is, I knew I was very sensitive, but I didn't know why. And I kept stuffing everything down. I felt everything, and I felt the pain of everybody, and I just kept stuffing it down. I didn't want to acknowledge it. I just thought, this is me. I'm just feeling pain all my life. This is what I feel. This is the emotion I feel. And I couldn't get rid of it for the longest time. But then when you start doing energy work, and I really, really understood that when I started practicing Reiki, and I started working in a clinic and working with people, and it's amazing, things would happen when you start clearing the energy field, even my energy field too, as well. And it's not just your energy field. There's other people's energy fields, like your home, your car, because you're actually, it's almost like, I like to call it, it's almost like you're walking down the street and you get gum on your shoes, and you just keep walking and you get more gum on your shoes. And then you step in some dog poop. And then
That's a great example.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, it's just like, what's that funky smell? And then all of a sudden you pass by somebody, and all of a sudden you come back stinking. You have all this stuff on you, and you're just feeling like crap. And a lot of times if you're working in a corporation, it's your coworkers, right? Because they're all got their stuff, and it's all out there, and you're walking by, you're interacting with them. And all of a sudden you're like, why do I always feel like shit?
Right. It's these energy bubbles. We're all these energy bubbles, and you could have picked up something so fast. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you do that as part of the routine? Do you let people know that this is what I'm doing, and to get them to experience that? Or do you kind of just do it under the radar and I'm just going to clear their energy field and
always ask permission. I have to have permission from their higher self. So often a lot of parents hire me to work on their kids. So I have boys involved in the video game industry, programming the video game industry. And so a lot of it opens a lot of portals, shall I say. So, and all of us have all these screens in our homes now. And so all these portals are open. And so they don't understand the kids don't understand what they're letting in their rooms and in their homes and even, us in our offices. So I ask permission of the higher self. And obviously, God, if I have permission, often I'm told, no, I'm not. And then I can't do anything. So
really?
Yeah. If I don't have permission, but 9 times out of 10, they're always yes. And if it's a building, I have to ask permission of the land. Do I have permission to work with the land and the building and or the owner of the building? Because it's all that energy on it.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I've heard so many stories where the energies can be so crazy and so off on buildings and where they're built and things like that, and the environment and the people that are in it. And it could be just so chaotic and crazy. Do you do, if you were going into a corporation building, sometimes their offices are at the 10th floor and there's another corporation on the 11th floor. How do you separate those energies from, let's say you're working for ABC company, which is on the 10th floor, and you have XYZ company on the 9th floor? How do you make sure that they don't intermingle those energies?
Yeah, I do that all the time. So I create bubbles around them. So just like we have our energy bubble, and you being very sensitive and empathetic, and when you were picking up stuff, I suspect before you start doing energy work, you were completely open, SpongeBob, soaking in everybody's stuff. And now you have energy boundaries. So the first thing I do, whether it's a person, a house, a place, an office, a website, our websites pick up everyone else's energy.
Wow.
I create a container. I put them in their own energy bubble with some boundaries. And then I start clearing the lower vibrations, bring in the higher ones, clear the entities, whatever the dark stuff is, look at all of that and go from there. But it's about creating the container, the strong, solid boundary first.
Yeah. I think that's probably why I don't have a lot of followers on YouTube. I put a container around it. No, I'm just joking.
Oh, did you?
No, I was always trying to figure out, okay, well, I get no views on my YouTube channel. And I'm just thinking,
we can do energy work around that, Michael.
That's, I was thinking, it's like, maybe it's because I don't have enough, I got too much boundaries around me, and there's no crazy people listening in. So, but I was just joking.
And then there's the look at, okay, so where I do the same thing. And then I have to look at, okay, where in my personality am I afraid of success? Where am I still afraid to step out? And I get that too. And then even those little parts of us show up in our social media, and then, or somebody else has actually gone onto your YouTube channel and implanted their darker energy to hide you. So you don't.
Wow. I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So stuff like
that is crazy.
Right. And everybody who visits each of our social media channels, our websites, they're leaving pieces and fragments of their energy on our stuff. So then by the time, 5 years down the road, when an ideal client comes, they can't even feel you because it's everybody else's gunk on your site or on your stuff. So yeah, I do a regular clearing.
That is something I'm going to look into, because I was just joking about the whole thing. I wasn't really trying to be serious, but you know what? Now that you say that, it makes a total lot of sense, because it is energy, right? And it does get different things. And I was just blaming YouTube for the algorithm, right?
Oh, well, that too. We can blame them too.
Yeah, we can blame that too. It's all about your algorithm, guys, and it's getting worse, I hear. So I better be careful. They might ban this video. I was just thinking, because I had a couple of controversial guests that they had shadow banned on their show. Yeah. Yeah. And it was just like, and she was telling me all this stuff, and I was like, what, really? And then when I started producing the videos for this audio podcast, and all of a sudden I go, why is this got a flag on it? Why is this like this? And it's like, this is like totally hidden. She goes, I tried to find you, Mike. I couldn't find you on the video channel.
Fascinating.
And I just thought, interesting. Right. But I try not to stress about it too much. That's the great thing about.
No doubt.
That's why, there's Apple and Spotify. They got my back.
They got your back.
They got my back. We got your back. But yeah, I have to really think about that now. I may have to send a little more energy towards that. Maybe I have to get you to do a little light language around that.
Absolutely. So one of the quick tips for anybody listening is dragon's blood, my absolute favorite incense for clearing energy of a website. Getting your phone to ring would run it in front of businesses. If their business was slow, would run it within minutes.
Dragon's blood incense.
Dragon's blood incense. That's it.
Okay, because you lost me there for a second. When you said dragon's blood, I'm thinking, okay.
What's not a
all right, we kind of I know we're talking about light language. I thought
Lara is a little nutty. No, incense.
Yes, let's specify dragon's blood incense.
Incense, yes.
Yes, you don't have to try to, it's not Game of Thrones, guys.
So no, this is not Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
So I run that, do a little light language, completely clears the air. I do it on my phone, on my computers all the time, especially during Mercury retro when things are really rough and the energy is not flowing. Run the dragon's blood incense, run one of my light language. You can get some free light language audios on my website or YouTube, anything to get the energy moving. Amazing how it opens it up.
Yeah, I smudge all the time. I got cedar and sage all the time. And it's so funny. Like I usually do it before I do a podcast and stuff like that. And I remember one time I saged so much that I was coughing and hacking during the whole thing because I just saged too much. And I had to close my windows down because there's a construction site beside my building here. So that's why I was like, okay, Laura, please send your guides and angels, do light language so there's no construction noise. And you know what?
It's really quiet.
It's quiet. I have a train station behind me here. They're building a new station behind it. So I have like 3 construction sites, one right beside me here. Like they're just still constructing it. So it's like constant noise. Then across the street there. And then right behind me, I got a train station. I don't
hear anything.
I know. I was like going,
Yay. No mowers on my end. We're good.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you would have mowers and stuff like that. But
mowers, dogs.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I live in an apartment building. So everybody's been quiet, which is great. Yeah, because usually I have to do this at nighttime now. And I was like,
oh, wow.
Yeah, I had to do it like at least 7 o'clock. That's when it gets dark and its construction starts to slow down and everything's kind of quiet. But then it's like, I had to go into work today. And I was like, oh, can she change the schedule?
Yes, of course.
And I was like, yes, I was so happy on that. So what are the other services that you offer as part of, like, do you do a package deal or do you just do individual sessions? Like, how does it work for you?
Yeah, the majority of people sign up for 6-month spiritual lifestyle coaching. And it's amazing. And I meet with them twice a month for 6 months. And usually I say that as a minimum, just to kind of get them going. Most of them want to keep going. And I teach them these tools and tricks and tips themselves. I can do individual sessions all day long, but I know that one of my missions is to teach them to do it themselves, to learn how to clear themselves, to learn how to do, clear their own websites, to understand things at a higher perspective and how to bring things in, how to do the shadow work, how to integrate all the different pieces, and not necessarily the light language for the individual spiritual coaching people. And then on the other side, I have a group of healers who want to be light language activated. So I'm starting, I think it's gonna February or March next year. The page is almost done for that, in order to we're going to do a 4-week light language activation.
Wow.
And then do a retreat here in Sarasota, Florida after that. So to really get them. Yeah, cool. You need to be in that, Michael.
That sounds
come to Florida in March? April?
Well, we'll have to see if our government will let me out the door here. Yeah.
Minor detail.
Yeah. Minor detail. Yeah.
Forgot about that.
Yeah. But hopefully by then, things will change, but that sounds so fascinating.
Yes.
Now, is it a different type of, so when you're activating people, do you feel it's different for you when you activate people?
You mean the sessions? Or?
Yeah, the sessions. Yeah. Like, because, you have your regular downloads, you kind of get used to the light language, and you kind of, I'm sure you have a certain feel for what's happening, what's not happening.
I do.
Now, when you activate someone, is it like jacked up another notch, another 10 notches? Yeah,
it is. And it's different codes. So depending on what they need, sometimes I'm just clearing chakras. Maybe that's all they need. Other times we're clearing really generational deep stuff where we're going into the quantum field. Sometimes often I'm pulling entities out of people. I've worked with people who are still holding rape energy, and they'd been raped 30 years prior.
Wow.
And that was still stuck in their, say, sacral, things like that. Just devastating things that people are still walking around with and don't have any idea.
Yeah.
And so once we have to do some of these initial peel the layer, onion, clear people, and then it's like the layers of the activation can come in, because really it's just about it's about being in front of it, being with it, the light language, being with the light language, attuning to it, opening to the resonance of it, not being afraid of it. And then we do all kinds of practices and things like that.
Yeah. Wow. That sounds so amazing. So when are you doing this?
It'll be probably end of February, March.
End of February. Okay.
Yep,
So
yep.
Unfortunately, this will be airing probably in March.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah,
that's okay. We'll see. Yeah.
We'll see.
And I also
happens.
have a TV show coming out on Awake TV network. Are you familiar? Have you heard of Awake TV? I gotta hook you up with Awake TV. So,
Awake TV. All right. Let me
yeah, my show starts February 5th on there. Divine Light Shifts. Thank you. But I will I need to introduce you to them, Michael. We need you on there. They have a whole light language channel
dedicated to light language.
Yes.
That is crazy. Yes. So would this be similar to like Gaia TV?
Very similar. Mm-hmm.
Very, very similar, but not as corporate.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Fantastic. Ooh, I love that. I can't believe I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things I haven't heard of.
They've only, I think they came out in 2018. So they've been slowly building, but now they've already skyrocketed to all over. So
wow, that's fantastic. I love when you hear
very
stuff like
pure heart, and I look at the heart of things. I look at, do they have a pure heart? Who's running the show? We have a lot of people out there, as kind of we talked about at the beginning, light workers who are wanting to spread light, but they're not necessarily being run by the light. And they may not even know it. And
that's a scary thing. Yeah. It's all about discernment. I've had a friend of mine, we talked about this where, it can be some of the most dangerous people are what they call spiritual people. Right. Yeah. And we've seen that as far as the religious goes, remember if all those religious speakers, had the big churches and stuff like that have fallen from grace.
Yes.
And they've taken people's money and stuff like that. So, but it's discernment, but that sounds so fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow. Can you imagine all those light activators? And that's what I always say, like, me being a Reiki practitioner too, as well. I love teaching people Reiki, and just, if we could have like one person who's a light activated in each household.
Yes. Oh, wouldn't it be wonderful?
Wouldn't that just be fantastic? And then we can just build on that. And if you just need one in the community, like just one in your community, and then one, like, 2 in your county, and then 2 maybe in your state. Yes. And it just builds on that, right? And it's just holding space, right? And it's like we do our own work, and people always ask, how do I make the big changes? And they remember the only thing I can remember is do your work yourself. Yes. Be the change you want to see. I think that's a Gandhi quote, I think. Be the change that you want to be. Mm-hmm. And that's when you bring that elevation, that love and that light into the collective unconsciousness. So now it's floating up there for everybody to just receive. And it's just less and less of this crazy energy that we're feeling right now. And I think that would
collective energy.
Yeah, that collective craziness. And man, I know there are days I don't want to get out of my apartment. And
I don't want to get out of bed. There are days I don't want to get out of bed. And when I look at the energy, I literally have to, if I'm laying in bed and struggling, I'll have to go into my energy field and pull me up out of the muck and mire myself in order to keep going. And we need to do it for each other and help each other. And because we're taking on whatever the collective is in our neighborhood, in our apartment complex, in our cities, country, all of it. And it's heavy. It's really heavy right now.
It is really heavy. Like I've never seen this in my lifetime. And I mean, I'm not the oldest guy in the world, but it's really kind of nutty. And I just shake my head, but like my friends say, just keep holding space, keep doing your work, keep putting your light out there, and eventually everybody else will catch up to it. And that's kind of the amazing things. So that being said, Lara,
yes,
we're almost out of time.
Oh,
yeah, it's like it went by so fast. I'm looking at my clock here. It's like, oh my God.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. Darn. Do you want any light language before you go?
Hey, would you mind? Oh my God. I was like thinking, I was actually thinking that before the podcast.
Yeah.
I thought, should I ask her? Shouldn't I ask her? And it's like, if it comes up, it comes up. And you brought it up. So thank you. I'm going to thank Spirit for that.
How long do I have?
Oh, no. Like, listen, hey, we can go a little bit longer. So
okay. No, that's right.
Yeah, if you want to go on, you want to go an extra 10 minutes, we can do an extra 10 minutes. It doesn't really matter. I just normally kind of do like a 50-minute kind of like, cause I know a lot of people are busy.
Okay.
And yeah, but that being said, I'll do an hour and 20 minutes. I don't,
We'll just do at least a couple minutes and get
everybody do that. Okay.
For it, and then they can just, really feel into it. And then if they want more, they can download a free one on my website.
Fantastic.
A whole meditation. So.
Okay. So what do we have to do? So people who are listening to this, okay, what do they got to do? We just got to close their eyes, just chill out.
Yeah. And so here's the really cool thing about light language meditations is you don't have to even pay attention. Now, I do encourage you to. You can have it play. I have clients and me, you play it in the background. It clears the air in the room. It clears you without you even paying attention. And that's why I love light language.
Okay. So just let me clarify this. So I can go onto your website. Mm-hmm. You have free audio downloads that people can basically use and just play it over their speakers or Bluetooth. And it can help clear the room, their car and things like that. And
there's one, I think it's Clear Your Energy Centers. You can download that one, or you can also on my website, go to a link where you can download 33 days of them.
What?
And that, 33 days, I think it's a little over $100. And then I have them on my playlist on my phone, and then I run them. Sometimes if a room's feeling heavy, I'll run it all night while I'm sleeping in that room. And then you wake up. Cool. And so it duplicates me. So it duplicates the light language in me. So I can actually get some sleep. The work's being done over here. And when I clear houses, I'll have my iPad in this room running my light language. I'll have my phone in this one running it. And then I'll be physically in another room.
Wow, that sounds so fantastic. Because that would be so easy. You're doing your chores, you're doing, you're cleaning the house. Before you meditate, before you go to work, you're listening to on your way to work. Absolutely. Or even have it in the background at work. Because imagine how many places. Well, I know a lot of people are not back at work right now, but even playing in the back of the house, like in the house somewhere in the background. It
calms our animals. Our animals are really struggling right now too with this increased energy and the solar flares and all of that. It clears them, it calms them. So they need it. We need it.
All right. So, okay, I'm going to just shut up here and I'm going to let you, the floor is yours.
All right. So normal meditation is we're going to pretend it's a normal meditation. Otherwise, that you can play it at any time while you're driving any time. So right now, just kind of close your eyes, take a deep breath. And I usually like to put one hand on my heart and another hand on my stomach. And I want you to just really, whatever's going on in your head right now, drop it into your heart and just feel your heart open and expand. And I'm asking Spirit, I'm asking your guides and angels, anyone who is listening, whenever this will be out there in the ethers, Spirit knows exactly what you need, and you will receive the codes for that in this moment. Paliomo bele se le beondo bele se yo tibiu ko ma se yo orando de bele se yo pa correndo de yati da orando de balemo se yo corbeondo bele palando de se yo somaronda de ya parando de bese corma zeboro yo to la beondo ya so yon gale to yo so yama de yongo la bramo se yo so malo barando de ya pa Kelomon na malamana yondori se yoman lebeondori yaka zibolom leondori ke oglamote yutole korea se yongaleti ondori yaka yimo paleto la mioto le bio la barondora beo so kalamasha Take a deep breath. Feel those codes. Dance in your field. Feel them clear that which you no longer need. Just let it go to the ground. And let the new energy come in, the lighter, happier, more joyous energy expanding your heart. Dele mioto la la balando la beloso la melo volando la libiodo la socolico sabiondo la bleondo la bleocola socolic shakarama yemo baleoto la bioso yomo paleoto la balondo la para sacramioto librondo de la barandaria cala di ondo yese yongole di ondo la brondo la bola mioto yango que lo plomo se uso melodo yo boromeo so yo so meo cola balomba balando yaka Zibiondo bleco de biondo de la monte, la baramonte yocolama, se yocolmelo balando de yakalama, Zibonoma, la blendo de yes, yosa miocolete, yongo, la brose yasha. Feel the codes, go straight in through your crown, into your pituitary gland, into your pineal gland, straight down your spine, to clearing out any blockages and aligning you with your highest and best timeline, whatever that is. Zabiondo labio oto lebeliondo la liongo le soliombo bayo coramioso la meo to labiondo la bao con el soyomo tala bronzo di lo peliongo labioso yomepe bio colamioso Kiyombo balebibi oko masa lebiondo la leondo la yaka zabalo marabando da balauso yamo te yungo la balauso colamioso yamata calibunda zebiondo la belo colamasha kiyosa balauto. Take a deep breath. Feel yourself very grounded, energized, and let those codes continue to dance with you this whole week, integrating into your energy field and revealing to you whatever needs to be revealed.
Wow. Awesome.
Thank you, Michael.
No, thank you. That was trippy. I was just kind of like, I was starting to do one of these. I was like, ooh. All right, I'm kind of getting a little trancy here. I was like, okay, right. I gotta make sure that I'm still 100% okay here, because I got to make sure I do this podcast, because then I'll be like,
in your body.
That's exactly it, because I will go out.
Right.
And I'd be like going, where's Mike? All of a sudden it'd be like,
oh, he's over there.
Drop down to be, hey, Mike, wake up. Wow. You know what? I'm just listening to that again and in my head. And it's just like, it sounds like you're an old Greek woman speaking.
I've heard that.
Yeah. It's like, it sounds like you're like this lady that I knew in the grocery store just down the street there. It's just like she had this inclination. It's like your whole voice changes.
Mm-hmm.
And, but it's also interesting too. I wanted to compare you because I was listening to your audio podcast and you remind me of Esther Hicks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like your voice and how you speak and everything else. It was like going, this is like, what is this Esther Hicks I'm listening to?
That's
but it
crazy.
was like,
I haven't listened to her in years.
Yeah. But it had that same beautiful, soft spoken voice that was just so nice. And then you did this channeling too, but you're doing light language. And it's like, okay, this is kind of cool, but wow. What a treat.
My superpower.
that is such a treat. So I really appreciate that. So everybody who's listening to this, you just got a little download there, little activation to get you on your day. So huge. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank
you.
What a way to send everybody off on my podcast. Wow.
You have great listeners and you're amazing. And I love that you're lighting up the world, Michael.
Yeah. And it's because of you guys. That's a lot of the channel is to really promote individuals like yourself to get the message out there. And everybody says, well, aren't you the metaphysical mentor? I said, well, not really. It's my guests. They're the mentors. They're the teachers and they're bringing that out. And I'm just the guy that's holding space for everybody. So that being said, we're going to close off the podcast.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Oh, that being said, where can they find you? Let's throw that in there.
Minor detail.
Yes, minor detail.
Yeah. My website, Lara Jaye, LARAJAYE.com.
Okay. And I'll have all that information of Laura's information in the description below. So again, if you're watching this YouTube video, scroll down just below there and I'll have all the information there. And if you're listening on the audio podcast on Spotify or Apple, and you can see her website information so you can contact her and get activated too as well. Space clearing, spiritual coaching, healing, clearing, everything. And it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks, Michael. Have a great day.
Okay. So that being said, everybody, I'm just going to close off the podcast here. This has been the Metaphysical Mentor Podcast with Michael Philpott. Thank you so much for joining me, and goodbye for now.